Welcome everyone to a very, for the moment at least, a secret just joshing show. I am Josh Pintorosco and this is my guest, Barb Sim, who's graciously let me into her house to actually do this interview. So how are you doing?
Doing good today?
Yeah, so I gotta ask, I see there's this one sign I kind of disagreed with over here, which is like not everybody is kung fu fighting. Why isn't everybody kung fu fighting?
I think everybody should be kung fu fighting, especially the kitchen.
The kitchen?
Yeah.
Oh, why the kitchen kung fu
Because
fighting?
it doesn't matter what party you go to,
Yeah.
everybody winds up in the kitchen.
Oh, sure, no, it's absolutely true, but that's usually where the booze is. That's why. That's totally why, right? It's when I go to parties, it's not kitchens usually, depending on the space, obviously too,
Yeah.
but kitchen's where everybody hangs out. The other place is outside. Now, in a place like this, I imagine like outside, it might like you might have some people go to a balcony here and there, but
Yeah.
but it'd be probably in the house, either in here or.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm a sober woman.
Oh.
Yeah, so I've been sober for 10 years. I had my
Congrats.
anniversary
Congrats.
on 12/12/12. So I've written a book on some parties, you know, where they go, where they start, and so on. And just, I think it varies from your 20s to your 30s to your 40s to your 50s.
Yeah. Also, upbringing. Like my family's Maltese,
Yeah,
so I've had access to booze since I was a kid,
yeah.
but I've never had a drinking problem.
I think a lot of cultures are like that.
Yeah, no, no, a lot of cultures are like the thing
Yeah.
is, if booze is treated like a big deal, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
If it's not treated like a big deal, generally speaking, it's not treated like a big deal. It tends to be just there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, I think just everybody breaks bread, you know, drinks together. And as for having a problem with it or not, I always just think that's sort of a, like it's bred within you genetically. I think most families would have someone in their family that drinks too much. But I mean, I always say the girl that I loved her. She was fierce. She was fun. She wound up in interesting places.
Yes.
And I can remember, being sober thinking, well, my life change is going to be boring. And I find I'm still the same character.
Yeah.
But I have better solutions.
Well, you hope so, right?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wake up and I wonder what the hell am I doing. Sometimes,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, by and large, like I'm smarter than I was in my
Yeah.
20s, and that's the way it should be. I'm
Yeah.
smarter than I was in my 30s. Now there are some days I question all of that completely.
Well, and you said you're from Detroit.
Oh, my family's from Detroit, yeah.
So how did you wind up in? Well, I mean, it's sunny today in Calgary, but how did you wind up here?
Magic.
Yeah.
Okay, so I made a conscious decision to chase my dreams,
Yeah.
and my dreams were always to be a writer and just do that. And this much like everything else in my life came about by accident.
Yeah.
What tends to happen with me is I just chase my dreams and it kind of just takes me everywhere. I haven't just lived in Detroit. I lived in Phoenix, Arizona. I've lived in a town called Snowflake, Arizona, of all places as well. But I've also lived in like places like Windsor, Ontario, London, Ontario, here, Vancouver. For me, it's about chasing what I want. And so Calgary is interesting in that it has some really cool people here, some good connections.
Yeah.
But it isn't as developed in certain things that I think they should be.
What would you change?
Okay, so Phoenix has this event called First Friday. And the idea is at the beginning of every month, like we have it kind of something like that, but it's nowhere close to the same scale they have in Phoenix, where artists just go and you can go sell, and like there's city blocks of paintings, concerts, like just it's amazing, right? These shows. The United States has, and it's not just Phoenix, it's Detroit, it's Chicago, you name it. The United States has all of these platforms to build people if you want to go out there and do it.
Yeah.
Whereas in Canada, and this is the thing about Canada, is we don't do it enough. We don't build our own talent enough. So this is why our talent leaves, ultimately.
Yeah. Well, you think of all the Canadian talent, it does generally wind up somewhere else. I know I started acting when I turned 50. I started acting and modeling at that age, and it was purely accidental.
Yeah.
So I had done it in high school, and I thought it was fun. Mm-hmm. But then, you're supposed to get a haircut and get a real job.
You are.
You sort of are.
Yeah. Well, I think the cool thing about this particular point in history is we are reevaluating expectations for people.
Yeah. So different.
Well, yeah, because I mean, when you were younger, it's like you gotta get a job. You're gonna probably get a job for life, and this is gonna be the place you work, and you're gonna get drunk and have your problems here, like everybody else. And then when it's all said and done, you're gonna get a gold watch, and then you're gonna get disappear into the sunset. Right?
My generation, I can remember being a kid thinking, and this is honest, and it's embarrassing to say this. I'm gonna grow up and get married.
Yeah,
like, that's gonna be my job, like my career.
But
you know, like I never became a mom till I was almost 40. So
yeah.
I was very, very career orientated. But you know, just looking around at that time, that's how they sort of programmed us.
It's the again. It's also it's not just from that era. It's like up until probably I'd say the 70s.
Yeah.
The traditional family model was very much a prominent part of society.
Yeah.
Good and bad has come from it diverting. I'm not saying like I'm not saying a woman should be in any one particular role, but the idea of like there were advantages to the traditional role, and there are disadvantages. Like, so how do I put this? When you take a universal standard or consensus out of society, and they're not sure where to go from here, it can cause some interesting messes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that all said, I mean, everybody's built the way they built. My grandmother was a single mom for the most part, and she had a full-time career, that kind of stuff too. And you know, that was her life. And then, like I said, my mom eventually remarried, right? But it took her a long time.
Well, and you know what? That leads to my biggest career I was a matchmaker.
Yeah.
You know, I got into that at the ripe old age of 23. You know, I'm thinking to myself, can I make a career at this?
Yeah.
You know, my dad calling me up and going, what is this? This isn't a real job. And I'm like, Dad, it's a real job. We're in an office building. We have, you know, offices that we interview all the clients. It's a real job. And so...
And you have to see it to believe it, right?
Well, I can remember the same sort of thing, you know, interviewing to get that job. You know, is this full time?
True story.
Yeah.
There's actually right now, from a dating standpoint, I actually applied for a company to build dating profiles for rich people.
Okay.
I would actually play the role of the rich person.
Yeah.
I would make them sound and be interesting because they don't. So folks, if you're looking for really rich people that are actually looking for people, right? They've paid somebody. You're actually not talking to the rich person. You're talking to the person that's actually creating the profile.
Yeah.
It's a very and again the same thing. It's like this is a job, but I kind of see why.
Yeah.
Right. I kind of see. Like, honestly, I get it too, like, especially again, going back to what I just said about the dynamics, everybody's like, even me, I'm wondering, so I'm 41 now?
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, well, should I? I mean, the idea of having kids and settling down is more appealing now than it was when I was younger, right? It's more appealing.
Yeah.
That all said, it's just like, well, how do I do that now, right? Right? And so you're like, so that's why, like, going to your matchmaking, right?
Well, there's always the same challenges: finding, meeting, and then once you meet, you got to have those sparks. But it's like always, it's like this. In the beginning, everybody sort of has their masks up, and it takes time to really sort of pull the layers away. And the thing is, life happens. Mm-hmm. It's like all the synchronicities that lead you everywhere. I think of all the synchronicities that happen for two people to meet.
Oh yeah.
You know, like you fall in love. And now with, you know, everything being online and the apps, I don't really package myself as much as a matchmaker as much anymore. Now I see myself as a heart healer because people are going to use the apps, but the problem is they're so damaged when they start. You know, they're bitter, they're angry, they don't know how to, you know, present themselves. There's so many things. And some of the most amazing people, you know, they don't make the perfect first impression.
Sometimes.
Like it takes a little.
Well, it's interesting because again now we've just come out of the pandemic, right? And I mean, one of the reasons we're doing this interview like this and not Zoom or anything else is because, well, one, I don't really want to do. I get tired of the computer screen stuff. Right. And a lot of people are in my boat too. It's like I want to go out and do things. Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going out and do things. And I have found like the other thing that I'm looking for is a certain degree of filtration. Yeah. do people want what I want?
Yeah.
Because if they don't, I don't. Like, and the thing is now, especially when we look at dating apps and stuff like that, it's not even the presentation of the person anymore.
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, you have this like little nightmare of what if I'm freaking dating an axe murderer or something like that.
There's so many things.
Yeah.
So when I was matchmaking, we would do a little screening over the phone. So, you know, we wanted people to have careers because it's pretty hard to date if all you're thinking about is, you know, getting a job. And I mean, COVID affected everybody's careers, so you can probably relate a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But we wanted to know that people didn't have assault charges and that kind of thing. We wanted to know who wanted marriage, who didn't, who wanted kids. Another big deal breaker sometimes is like faith.
Yeah,
spirituality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sexuality is another deal breaker.
Well, yeah, and both of those make sense for different reasons, right? You know, I'm straight. I mean, again, there are certain other sexualities that will work for me.
Yeah.
But some won't, right? It just, I'm not. You gotta be honest with yourself with what you can and can't handle. Just from my own dating history, it's just right. I'm pretty old fashioned, and I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
There are some people who aren't, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that either. It's just we are all different.
Yeah. The interesting thing about chemistry, because I have done 60,000 interviews in person.
Nice.
Yeah. So people will tell you things, but when you like someone, it's like you still want to believe that it's going to work no matter what.
Oh, no,
So there's the truth, and then there's like how you sort of, you know, present the truth to yourself, sometimes with your own heart.
Well, you have an idea of a person, right? Like that's what happens is I remember like I fell in love like I will say about 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
There's this gal. Now she is incredibly sweet woman,
Yeah.
all things considered. Yeah. But also me and her aren't built that way. We're just not. As much as I love her, it would not work. But for a while, I had this idea in my head that it would.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't, and honestly, it's good. But
so
I mean,
you're playing out all the scenarios and thinking about.
Yeah, you do that. Like especially like I think probably like the first few relationships you're getting into. That's the hope, right? You find it quickly and easy, but the reality of the situation is okay. So for me, it's like what I'm looking for right now is like if I was dating, is someone to go on adventures and have fun with and. Right, not necessarily that.
And to stay home and have fun.
Yeah, exactly that too. Right, like both.
Or allow space. Like there's different.
Yeah. But you gotta be honest with what you want, and you gotta be honest. And one of the hardest things to do when you're looking at your partner. Yeah. Can you take your emotion out of it? And you can't entirely do that. Yeah. You can't. But there is also this reality. It's like okay, you know, maybe like okay, for example, let's just say alcohol's a deal breaker for me. Yeah. They're going to the bar every night. Yeah. At some point, you're going to have this realization, like, they're not going to change. And I'm keeping a very simple example. I'm not going to, like, it's usually way more complicated than that, or sometimes it's even simpler than that. It's just, there are people that just, generally speaking, like, we're not meant for everybody. And that's, even if we really generally, there's a chemistry or a spark, that is great and dandy, and that's a good first thing. It's like it's nice that it's there, but now what? Are we compatible as people? Do we want the same things? Are we
like how social are you? How family orientated?
Yeah.
Like even that. Like if you met somebody and she wants to be with her parents all of the time. That you know you might be I love these people for sure.
Oh no,
that's too much.
No, like legit. Like there'd be a line with that. It's like no, I don't like. Okay, I get it. You want I get like close in families. I get that to some degree, but I'm also just like but like I like it. And that's. But again, everybody's different, and relationships are about from the little experience I do have. Relationships aren't about when things are good. Yeah. It's who the people are when things aren't good, and can you look at them in everything and still say, I can deal with this?
The thing that I know from experience, the very first sort of like say fight that you have or upset, that's usually exactly what will be the ongoing challenge. and when it comes to the end of it, that is usually the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as 100. So
Well,
I always say to people, if you're doing 70%, you know, you're doing, in the beginning, it's probably like 85. Everything's great. You know, you've got that sexual chemistry, you're getting to know each other. There's a lot of first. The first trip, whether it's a road trip, whether you're flying.
The first date, the first kiss, the first night together. There's a lot of firsts.
A lot of firsts, yeah.
Right? But at the same time, right, it's like, okay, we get past the quote-unquote honeymoon stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you put up, like, this is how I look at it, can you put up with my crap and can I put up with yours?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And again, there's going to be days, heck, even in a really good relationship, there are days the relationship's going to be like 90. And then there are days the relationship's going to be like 50. Yeah, right?
And then there's going to be somewhere it's like,
and that's
the wheels are falling off the bus.
I hope not too many of those days, but yeah.
But there's going to be.
There's right? Yeah. And that's it, right? It's like anything else. And you have to, and again, if you can't, okay, fine. I mean that's entirely part of the game too, right?
Yeah.
And like there are women I've dated that I love personally that I wouldn't date again.
Yeah.
Right? And there are women that.
Are there some that got away that you kind of go, oh, if I was older or if this was different, I could see that working now. Ours an X for a reason. Like that's a good debate.
I think exes are exes for a reason.
Me too.
Yeah, by and large, I think what it is on that one is, it's okay. I got out 5 years ago, for example. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Nor is she.
Yeah.
Right. So right place, right time. Let's say we met again.
Yeah.
Maybe the spark be there. Maybe it wouldn't. Either way, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right. We're not, but also I'd almost be looking at this as it'd be ground zero all over again because I know them, but I don't.
Yeah.
And because again, enough time has passed that we're not the same people anymore. So, like in that sense, maybe it's possible. But then again, what I've also tend to find too is the things that drove you crazy about that person are usually still there.
They are.
Yeah, right. They're usually still there.
Yeah.
Now they might it can be like I'm going back to the exact same thing I've already been through. Whereas what I think it is too is when we have relationships with people, with different people, it teaches us things about ourselves, but it also teaches us about what we're looking for when we are looking for that potential, right? Right? Maybe I'm looking for someone to push me farther, right? That has maybe more confidence in themselves. Maybe I'm looking for somebody that wants to be confident in themselves, right? And that's a different mentality than someone like, because again, I'm a freelancer, I'm kind of pursuing my own stuff. It's again one of the reasons we're here, right? I'm trying something different and new, and what I've learned is that I'm not for everybody, just based on the fact that, again, I'm still in that roller coaster of there are some months I make really good money. Yeah. There are some months I don't. Yeah. And that's not for everybody. Yeah. It's like that, and again, this is just me understanding, but again, for me right now eventually, I'll stabilize. Yeah. Which will create a whole slew of different problems for me than what I have right now. Yeah. Because then what happens, let's say, as I keep becoming more successful doing what I'm doing, like, I'm just thinking as a guy, right? It's like, well, okay, I got to a certain plateau on my own. Now I got all this attention I didn't have before. Right. So now I'm like, I don't mind if the money is what draws them to me initially. Yeah. But. Yeah. Right. You know,
that's such a good point, because I know that when I talk to clients, we talk about past relationships, because you tend to have a type.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, we all do. Yeah.
And it's almost like if you have a challenge the past, it's almost like you will find the similar situation. Yeah. And it'll recreate itself.
Well, no, you gotta be honest. You gotta be honest with yourself what you're looking for, and maybe even to some degree what you need, right? Again, where I'm at right now, I like someone were to come in and help build, that would be
Yeah.
a very different relationship than if I build myself up and then suddenly.
I think women and men do good if they have some projects that they can share together.
Oh, absolutely.
And there are some people that think, well, we have to have the same hobbies and interests.
No.
Which I'm with you. I think that a lot of guys can be so sports orientated where, you know, not all women are going to be that, you know.
There can be
Or
different.
some can be more creative and
There can be different interests.
yeah,
But there has to be a similar. This is what I have.
lifestyle.
Either either a lifestyle or similar passions.
Yeah.
I'm building something.
Yeah,
So someone that's already built something,
yeah,
right, might look at me and go, maybe in a couple of years,
Yeah.
right? I guess that's just where they're at,
yeah,
right? Or maybe I find someone like me who's interested in building something. Maybe it's not my project,
yeah,
but they're doing something on their own.
yeah,
That can work too, right?
yeah,
It doesn't have to be the exact same thing or the exact same. It's actually good if they are a little different from
Yeah.
you because honestly, we get really insular
Yeah.
how we see the world. So that again, but again, it's tricky. If I don't want someone that's gonna come home working 8 hours a day and just all they want to do is watch TV and go to sleep,
yeah,
right? Because that to me is boring.
yeah,
Right, and it's not living. It's just like you're tired. Now again, once in a while, sure, but every single day,
Yeah.
nah.
which I think a lot of the masses do.
Yeah.
You know, we wouldn't have Netflix and
Oh
you
sure.
know, Amazon and, you know, like if everybody say there's 1,001 things to watch, but now they've watched it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm not cool though. I don't watch any TV.
Yeah.
But it's not them against watching TV. I just find that for me, I gotta admit, I do fall down YouTube rabbit holes from time to
Okay,
time. We all
there
do.
you go.
Yeah, I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But I'm also I'm creating a film series for a client.
Yeah.
I'm writing a book right now. I am doing a podcast right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So I'm always mentally,
Creating.
I'm creating,
Collaborating.
creating, collaborating.
Yeah.
So me sitting down, if I'm going to sit down
Mhm.
and I'm going to play a video game more so than I'm going to watch a
Yeah.
television thing because it's still engaging. It's
Yeah.
not like super. It's not as pressure cooker because again, the butt kicked in the game, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
But I need that engagement. Whereas if I'm dealing with something now again, let's say you're an actress, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna watch TV because
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's not just entertainment for
Yeah.
you. It's research. It's development. It's looking at your craft, looking
Yeah.
at what's going on.
Costumes, scenes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's different.
Yeah.
That's a different.
But you know, I feel like in my industry, I could watch way more television and film compared to some of my peers because I'm like you. I don't want to get lost in that TV because it's like it just hooks you in.
Yeah, exactly. No, and
Yeah.
that's why I don't watch it.
So for me, what I find healing is, you know, getting out in nature. So I don't have to climb mountains, but you know,
Walk.
go and visually see the mountains, see a lake. You know, it's a bonus if you can get to an ocean, but just the sights and the you know, get away from the day to day and the computer.
Yeah, disconnecting a little
Yeah.
bit goes a long way, and it's the other thing. I think that's the other reason why
Yeah.
television does not have the appeal to me.
Yeah,
Because for me,
yeah,
I'm already on the screen a lot as is.
yeah,
So the idea of me watching a show
Yeah.
after a day of being on, I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't.
there's some movies that are just so epic.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I, every once in a while, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Or
but
funny. You know,
right,
just-
well, again, I'm a
Yeah.
reader at this
Yeah.
point. Like you saw me. There's a
Yeah.
book right there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm reading. I'm reading.
yeah,
So I like to read. Reading is again, it's still engaging.
Yeah.
Still uses my brain, but I'm not looking at a screen.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a how do I put this? This is just a personal thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, and to anybody that does do that,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
There really isn't. But
yeah,
it's not me.
Yeah.
I would rather go out. I'm going to be doing karaoke next week
Yeah.
because that to me is a much more not the bigger. And me butchering songs is not necessarily it's.
Oh, I know.
But but
I love music because I always think music is a healer. So anybody who's a musician, I think they're like a gift on this planet you know, that they're here to raise our vibration and take us places. Because you can show up someplace, whether it's karaoke or if it's a live band or, you know, depending on the genre, you know, it really can take your what I say, your vibration and your spirit, and can just take it places.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
And unite the whole group.
Oh,
You know,
you go to a concert, I mean, there's nothing like it. Because, okay, so I love heavy metal concerts. I'm usually in the pit. Usually, right? Yeah, that's right.
I actually do too.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
You probably hit harder than some of the guys I hit. Right, so, no, like one time, like last time I went to a metal show, my first metal show in like years. So it's just 100, she must have been like 120, 130 pounds.
Yeah.
So she's just bouncing in, just body checking it right. I got hit harder by her than anybody else in there. I'm like, I might be a little bit in love and I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
She just after because again, you put that much energy into hitting people, you're going to get tired fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and people that listen to me going like mosh pit like you're crazy. It's like, no, it's part of the fun and the experience of, that's life. Life is built on, again, experiences and adventure. And music is cool because you go to, again, no, you don't have to necessarily go there. I have to live a confession. I have become a Taylor Swift fan. Right. So somehow I went from buying Folklore for $5 to humming Anti-Hero.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I know, it's catchy.
Yeah.
I mean, I like her because she came out. You know, when you think about watching her, she came out so wholesome.
Yes.
You know, kind of like, in a way, like that beautiful deer, you know, in the headlights of fame kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you watch her, and it's like she has problems finding love.
Yeah.
You know, and that she had to sort of, you know, grow up and find love in front of the camera. And now she's the first one to, you know, say, well, this is my part, this is their part. Like, you know, she really, really has experience, but we all do.
Yeah.
You know, so it surprises me when I meet men. They'll be like, and I have a compassion to say, I do appreciate this music. And it's usually like, you know, something that you would expect that a girl would like.
For me, I'm, again, different. I interview people. I do all kinds of different artists. I can appreciate everything else. The thing I like about her stuff is her lyrics are authentic.
Yes.
That's the one thing about her. She has a certain authenticity in her music, and it translates.
Yeah.
It's not that what she does she's a very talented musician in her own right, but really, it's not, to my opinion, it's not what she does with the guitar or even her singing voice. Yeah. It's the fact that there's just something genuine in her music, and it appeals to a lot of people. Not just, and that's just the way it is, right? Again, I love me some Mama Mars, love me some Epica, but every once in a while, man, just like, you know what? I'll give me pop music. I'm good with that. Yeah. I'm good with pop, and everybody listening to me will be like, you bastard. That's all good. I'm all good with that.
I get a kick out of my son because I can remember when I was pregnant, and I still am, a big David Bowie fan. Mm-hmm. And now I laugh because of like, I've given birth to David Bowie, you know, because my son's an artist. And so art comes in so many, like it's in fashion, it's in, you know, home decor, it's in your writing, your music, everything. But I look at him and he just brings such a different, you know, look at everything just because of his age and who he is. So when I married his dad, I can remember being a matchmaker thinking of the compatible factors. And we really had such a great foundation of, you know, being together and, you know, having our own lives and working. We were both workaholics, really. But what our child did was bring the opposite to us. Mm. So it was like he was sent here to teach us. And then I always say, you know, you learn from what you do well in love, and you learn from what are the disasters as well. Things look different in the rear view mirror.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, my parents had an incredibly nasty divorce.
Yeah.
Like, very nasty.
Divorces are nasty.
They can be.
They're mostly not awesome.
Well, no, they're not fun for anyone to go through, but there are degrees of bad, right? There are degrees of bad. Yeah. This one was one of the worst ones, right? Yeah. And like I said, my mom, like I said, in terms of, I look at that situation, I can see why, and I'm just going to say that, I see why my mom wanted to leave. Yeah. I can look at that as a human being going, okay, you know what, I get it. This was very hard for you. You wanted more on some things, right? And then you felt you weren't getting it, and so you wanted it. I can respect that. How she did that, but again, but that's.
But life happens.
Oh, no,
Sometimes
no.
what the plan isn't like how you think you're gonna exit is like not how it all goes down.
Yeah,
kind
no.
of thing. Yeah.
There was a certain deliberation. Like she was deliberate in some of the
Okay.
things she did.
Yeah.
Like it's like that. That's the thing. It's not
Like a woman scorned. Yeah.
big time.
Yeah.
Big time. There is so there is that aspect to it as well, and that's the part I kind of look at it and go, you know, like
Yeah.
I right there, like that's the part I kind of go.
But that's why I say people need to also heal their hearts.
Oh sure.
Because we have like our small cuts on our heart,
Oh yeah.
the bigger wounds, and then the gashes.
Well, I mean,
which can be a failed marriage.
I'll tell you, like for me, like I understood her a lot more when I was in Arizona. I ended up doing. I had a relationship with somebody, but when we met, she was married.
Oh goodness.
It didn't go there. No,
Yeah.
It didn't go there right away.
Yeah.
What ended up happening was she was a barrel racer and her horse died.
Oh goodness. Yeah.
Right, and her husband at the time wouldn't. Like she was. Like, I could look at her. Like she was like in pieces on the inside. Right.
Yeah.
Wouldn't give her a hug. Wouldn't do anything like that. So I finally go to her and say, okay, listen, this is what you're gonna do. I'm gonna give you a hug.
Yeah.
You're going to cry until you're done.
Yeah.
And when you're done, let go. But in that moment, something
that
clicked.
spark,
Yeah, it clicked. And yeah, we never, and again, I understood some things a lot, but again, it was not the plan.
No, I know. I've had many people say, you know, the last thing on earth I expected was that spark, and then it's like once that spark starts.
Well, no. I mean, you still have a bit of a say, but at the same time, this is what you start seeing when you start looking at it. And I'm not justifying anything I did, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not. What I am saying is, what you start to see is what the partner isn't doing for them.
Yeah.
And somehow you're ending up doing those things for them, and it helps. Like it just, and then one thing just leads to another.
Point of view,
right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly, the next thing you know, all right, like just the whole dynamic changes, and you're just like, okay. It taught me an awful lot about like things happen.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent things happen.
Yeah.
And you have to recognize the fact too. Like, you know what? I will never say I was completely in the right.
Yeah.
I understood why it happened.
Yeah.
But I will never say I was completely in the right. But in that experience, I understood both my parents a lot better. Both of them. Both of them.
All of a sudden you...
Yeah, I understood it. I understood both sides of that equation. And it was like...
That's actually a gift.
Yeah, no, it is.
Because when you're younger, you just sometimes, you know, you just see it in a smaller vision. Unless you're like an old soul. Sometimes, you know, the old souls really get...
Even if you're an old soul, that one's really hard because, you see the devastation, you're part of the consequences of what happened. So you have a very different view. When that happened for me, it added a layer to it. It's like, okay, I can understand kind of what happened here.
Yeah.
A little bit. I can understand it. Now, again, and I will maintain this until my dying day.
Yeah. Once
it happened, there were choices that could have been made that were different.
Yeah.
But that all said, though, again, hindsight is 20/20, and I get that as well too. Hindsight is easily 20/20.
Yeah.
But again, go back to something I said. There was
I'll say
a
to
certain
clients, the past is the past.
Yeah,
for a
exactly.
reason. You can't change it.
No.
So sometimes you just got to start here and kind of go from there.
But
and take that experience.
You learn
But
from it.
that's great that you did.
Yeah.
Some people never learn.
Yeah. Well, you learn from it, right?
Yeah. Or they might need someone to maybe observe and share.
Well, I think there's it's a self-awareness thing.
Yeah.
It's understanding that during that time in my life, not just that was happening, other things were happening.
Yeah.
I learned probably one of the most valuable lessons I've ever learned about it is that sometimes you are the bad guy.
Yeah.
And it's okay sometimes to be the bad guy. You have to be.
Gotta be the warrior for yourself. You gotta make some choices.
There's that part of it, but there's also just okay, you're a parent.
Yeah.
So the objective for your son is to take over the house.
Yeah.
Your objective is to make sure he's ready to do it before it happens.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
sometimes you, especially probably in his young,
Yeah.
probably not so much now. He's older / wiser and
Yeah.
stuff. But when he was younger, you probably had to put some like boundaries in there,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's right. You have to put some boundaries in, and you had to be the bad guy, even
Yeah.
though you didn't necessarily want to be.
And I don't like being the bad guy.
No
Yeah.
one. But see, this is what I
Yeah.
want. This is what I've learned.
Yeah.
This is what when the situation calls for it,
Yeah.
embrace it, because you only are. I find people are only really bad guys, like legitimately
Yeah.
villains.
Yeah.
One way
Yeah.
is when they don't want to be the bad guy,
Yeah.
and they try to coax it in good intentions.
Yeah.
That's when shit goes completely AWOL. And I've learned this.
Yeah.
So hard. The biggest mistakes in my life have been when I've not told it like it is.
Yeah.
Again, you don't necessarily have to be an asshole about it, but you gotta be. But again, you gotta be honest about it,
Yeah.
and you gotta be honest. You have to communicate it. You have to. Anybody I've dealt with that's had an inability to do that,
Yeah.
it has never gone
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
ever.
Well, for me, being a parent, what I don't like is that you have to repeat yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And like, didn't we go through this? And then, my son will be like, well, you're making me feel bad about that. And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to. I'm just being your parent.
No,
So it's like, I have to explain all the time. That's a mom thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's put that over there. That's a mom thing. Let's get on with our day.
Also, it might be just the universe's revenge on you a little bit, because I am certain
Yeah.
there are things you struggle with, and that your parents were like, this would not be coffee, this would be something stronger,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh god, okay, right, but it's
Yeah.
we all have have those like moments. I look at it like this:
Yeah.
if I'm paid, if it's my kid,
Yeah.
or if I'm paid to do it, I
Yeah.
have the patience for it.
Yeah.
If it's neither,
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
For drinking when I was young, I used to say to my dad, because he said to me, he goes, women can become alcoholics too.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
like, Dad, this is the 80s. This is how we do business. We go to meetings.
Yeah, and we
and
drank.
we're going to have a drink there, Dad. Like, this is business.
Lots of business is still done in the bar. No, it's true that lots of business is done in the bar room. Like,
Yeah.
right? What I've learned is, okay, if you know
Yeah.
that this is not your thing,
Yeah.
it's water,
Yeah.
you keep it water, you let no one buy you a drink
Yeah.
unless you trust them.
Yeah.
And then you just do it. You just do your thing, right?
Yeah. No, it's funny. But we used to always say, work hard, play hard.
Mhm.
And what we were all about is we didn't hit the rock bottoms. We were making drinking look good because we were just working and becoming more successful. But through any life, when you said you're on your way up, or you're gonna have your up, but you're always gonna go down. They'll say most billionaires, they are going to get to a point where it's like the bank is calling. There's a problem because they've over leveraged, or they've had these big dreams and so on. So I don't care who you are, your career is never a constant up.
No, it's
like you gotta sow those seeds, and then it's like it grows. And then life throws you, a curveball, and what happens is some people, they don't want to change or go with it. So I think, even with COVID, it was a life worldwide lesson of, how are we all gonna respond to something that we're all in together.
So.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Like, COVID was interesting for me because it. So.
It broke people up,
Oh, no,
and it got them together.
Well. Here's the thing. This is the thing. This is the personal. This is the personal thing. All right. The virus is bad enough. The fear that was inputted by the media and those things compounded this so bad. I truly believe.
Yeah.
I truly believe that, especially in North America, the media, both in Canada and the United States, did a terrible job. Like, that's an honest assessment of it. Because
being your authentic self, your vibration is lowered by fear and by guilt.
Well, I've learned how to ditch guilt, and while I do have things I'm afraid of, there's a certain. I'm not gonna say I'm bulletproof exactly, but it's more I accept certain things that a lot of other people don't.
Yeah.
What bothered me about it is, I watched what fear did to a lot of people I loved, and it's and there wasn't much I could do. I realized this too, but I also realized like fear brings out the worst in a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that understands that. There's another part of me that at least some people I'm not so forgiving on, because again, there's certain things happened that just was like, nah, that wasn't right. Like so for me, my I've said this on my podcast before. My COVID moment for me was I was in Vancouver when I went to Windsor. So this was when everything was shutting down.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Everybody was scared.
Yeah.
So I'm coming home from work. I'm still taking the train
Yeah.
to work, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody's like, what the hell, right?
Yeah.
So no one knows. This is right at the beginning.
Yeah.
No mask, none of that shit.
Yeah.
And now Vancouver has a lot of people who are working that are homeless. This guy lives on the streets. Comes to me, goes, "Hey, yo,
Yeah.
do you got a pen? So I'm on my way to work. Got a pen right on the side at the train station."
Yeah.
I go, "I can't. I legit didn't have anything." I said, "I'm sorry." And he goes, no problem." So he puts his fist out like this.
Yeah.
This is the beginning of the pandemic. No one knows
Yeah.
anything. I had to make a decision.
Yeah.
And the decision I made, and I don't regret it. Other people would say like that's not the decision I made.
Yeah.
It's like that's fine. You and me look at the world very differently,
Yeah.
and that's who am I going to be to people in this time?
Yeah.
Am I going to be afraid of them? And I realize this is how cruel the pandemic really was
Yeah.
too. Is that lack of contact
Yeah.
destroyed?
Yeah.
Was so like.
Yeah.
As a hug worth dying for was never a question I thought I'd ask.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I understood like that was the real
Yeah.
horror of COVID more
Yeah.
than anything else. But I decided, you know what, fuck it. If he's got it,
Yeah.
and it's gonna, I can't. I just couldn't. So I gave him a fist bump right back, and we
Yeah.
went on our way. That was my COVID moment. And that was when I wasn't. Now there are people here who are watching this, listening,
Yeah.
who tell me that's crazy. This is like no. I am like again. No matter what the circumstances are, you're either busy living or you're busy dying.
Yeah.
And I found that fear,
Mm-hmm.
no matter even if the fear is somewhat justified,
Yeah.
it is a terrible way to live.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But you know what? History repeats itself.
Oh, absolutely.
You think of how many people have lived their lives in fear. You know, so for me, being a single woman, you have to be concerned about some things. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's like when I was young and single, I had to deal with stalkers. You get older, you think that people grow up.
They don't.
People are still, you're like, stalking is a real thing. Or there's so many things, right?
So I was on a road trip, and so but this is the growing up. And
Yeah.
We'll talk stalking
Yeah.
in just a second. I was on a road trip, and I'm on a van from London, Ontario to Toronto Airport. This couple from London gets on. And I'm just listening to the conversation. I'm not contributing. I'm just listening to it a little bit, and I'm trying not to chuckle because they're having the exact same conversations. I have left London for decades, and I have seen and done a lot of crazy things. So I have I have a unique perspective, and I get that too. But at the same time, it's like you're talking about the exact same shit that when I lived here.
Yeah.
That everybody else was talking about then. And I'm like, how did this city not change in 20 years, right? Right? And you're just like,
it was like a deja vu for you.
Yeah, it was like, how? And I just shook my head. It's like,
You felt like I've not only seen this conversation, I
know where to,
I know what they're going to say next.
Yeah, it did. And I did. That was the thing that really blew me away. It's like, oh my God.
But those are moments where you kind of go, that confirms where I went.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because some people, they, you know, for dating and relationships, there could be one that, you know, can really go with the flow and change. And then there's, you know, somebody that's like, I gave birth in this home. I want to stay in this home, you know, forever and ever and ever. Meanwhile, the house is like imploding and breaking down, and you know, somebody's got a new job or they're traveling. It can be so many things, but.
Well, it's our idea of what the world is, and the pandemic was a big lesson for me. I have like 10 rules of success.
Yeah.
The 9th rule is be detached from all outcomes.
Yeah.
And the reason that is existing is because if if it's hard to manipulate you for one. If you can detach from the emotion of or the feeling of the moment and you can actually look at things objectively, you can see things very clearly. Again, if you're not letting fear or guilt impact you, you can look at something very differently, right? So I learned this very, very, very quickly doing like this is the big lesson I learned. We all have ideas of how the world is. All of us, we're all guilty of this, right? And there are things about it that are based on our experiences, that are based, and I'm not saying they're not coming from valid places, but the truth is, everything changes.
Yeah.
And the very ideas that might have gotten you to a certain point, you might have to change them to go to wherever next is for you. And the only way to do that is to recognize like your ideas of how the world is will one day no longer. One day I'm going to be the old guy talking to clouds, going back in my day. This is how the world works. And the thing is, back in my day, that was how the world worked. But in that day,
Kevin will say that, and you're just about 17. He goes, "Mom, when I was younger, back in the day," and you're like, how old are you?
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, okay, you're older than I am. It's like, how old are you? 41. I say it as a joke. You're saying it like it's real. Like, what the hell, right? Right? But that's the thing. We all have ideas of how the world is, and what we have to recognize, all of us, is our idea may not be what the real world is.
Yeah.
And
expectation is really tough.
Yeah, no, exactly.
For life and relationships.
Well, that's the thing. It's like that's what kills. That's what does the most damage. It's not. It's not the actions. It's the expectations and whether they're met or not. If the expectations aren't met,
I know.
That's it.
That's why you have to talk about things.
Yeah.
And then I think about men, growing up with 3 brothers, so much was like you're not supposed to cry and you're supposed to do this, and whereas men are at the point now where they're like, I was carrying a lot with me.
Oh yeah.
It's like when you said to that friend, you need to cry. It's like sometimes men have to do the same thing. They have to let it go.
It's weird because the what is strength? But the thing is, there is a how do I put this? I think both sexes have certain double standards they have to deal with.
Yeah.
Right. I think with guys, the big thing is guys, generally speaking, aren't given the opportunities to be vulnerable, even with sometimes partners.
Yeah.
Right. Honestly, to some degree, this is just something I've observed. Women are generally to be attracted to what they consider someone strong.
Yeah.
Right? So they can see, now again, certain circumstances aside, like they'll expect a certain degree of vulnerability, but by and large, right? But by and large, if you show all of that too much, people lose respect for you.
Yeah.
Right?
But both men and women.
Yeah.
It's like you can't always be showing your emotions a lot. Like you want to be open, you want to be authentic, but again, it's like, how far do you go?
Well, I think
That's the hard thing in a relationship, when you share something that's very personal, then you have a fight or something, and then that comes back.
Yeah, it can. It can. I will say, I think that's one situation. I'm not going to say you're right. I think that's one situation. I think the guys are a little bit at a disadvantage on.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Like going back to what you said about stalkers. Like most, like in your younger days, when you were probably smoking hot and driving every guy in the room, breaking every heart in the room.
Yeah.
Right. You probably were dealing. Not that you're not pretty now, but just yeah.
I think when I was younger, I had no idea that I was attractive.
Yeah.
The word for me was cute.
Yeah.
And funny.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I got older that it was like that people would say, I had a photographer friend say, I want to take your photos. Like, I don't think you see yourself as the world does.
Yeah. A lot of women are guilty of that.
Yeah.
But some are smart. Some pick up like that they're really hot early.
Yeah.
Some now whether they see themselves as that, some pick up like how the world sees them. Some don't.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's even cuter. Like when they're like they're like, wow, you don't realize what you are, and that's actually part of your appeal, right? But again, in that perspective, right? You deal with a lot. You probably dealt in your younger days a shit ton of attention. That like just because of who you are.
I tend to back then. I always traveled with. It seemed like as a matchmaker, a group of bachelors, because they were like wanting to know who I knew. And what was great is I worked so much. You know, when I was interviewing clients, we'd do a 9:30, 11:30, a 1:30, a 3:30, a 5:30, and then a 7:30. That's a huge day. And we would do it 6 days a week, and then as time progresses, we were doing it 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You know, so I always seem to meet up more with the guys, and I would have a bachelor group.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well,
you know,
okay.
I would cook for them.
So they kind of protected you in one.
I am so proud to say that I went through my life. You know, I know of so many women who were sexually assaulted, and I feel like, you know, I was surrounded by the goons.
Yeah.
But, you know, the goons maybe didn't have any words. I was like one of them. I felt like I was one of them.
Well, it's a different thing too. It's like when you're working, like this is just something like when I work with a woman.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I've never thought about how cute she was, but it's not the primary thing, right? It's about what are we accomplishing? What's the goal? What's the task?
But when Cupid strikes, I have a friend, and he's, you know, passed away now, but he fell in love with a workmate, and you're just not supposed to. And he's like, Barb, and I can't even think at work. I'm thinking of every excuse just to go to that end of the office.
That's the thing. Like there is that attraction there, for sure, right? And when you got
soulmates,
well, like when you get it, you get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, by and large, business-wise, I try to keep business and personal separate because that's
you have to.
Yeah, it's super like.
But people do get married and start businesses together.
Yeah, but it can be done, but that is so hard, right? That is so hard because, like, you can't, if you do get mad at each other in business, you can't carry it.
But I think you have to have your different, like, you know, what I say, you put on a hat. You know, it's like a hat you'd wear to work almost, a hat you'd be in your family, a hat with your friends.
I know one husband and wife team, when they work together, they actually sign a contract.
Yeah.
Because, it's you need boundaries. Like, that's the thing, like, it's a boundary thing.
Yeah.
If you can keep those boundaries up, you can work together.
Yeah.
But if you can't, and honestly, not a lot of people can, like, that's a hard one.
And people will say to me they can't afford to get a divorce. And I'd be, what do you mean? You know, I would never want my partner in life to be saying that to the general public.
Well,
I'm still here because, you know what? I can't afford a divorce. I'll lose my business. I got this. I'm here.
It's a real thing, though. It's a real part of like the legal system is still kind of crooked when it comes to that kind of stuff, and because of that, I mean, you'll see. Especially if there's a lot of kids. Now, if it's 1 or 2 kids, you might still see the divorce. But when you get to 3, 4, 5 kids, you don't see those divorces there, because what happens there is it's a very, like, divorces are expensive. Let's be honest, right? They stop, like, not just mentally, physically, like, financially. The lawyers are the only people that are kind of happy about it, and I think there's a little bit of self-loathing in the lawyers, a little bit on that one too. But the thing is, so you're like, well, I got 4 kids. The child support will be this. Like,
there's a formula.
There's a formula, and so it's like, is it worth it? That's why you again, statistically speaking, you get to pass 3 kids. Yeah. If you get to 4 kids, you're probably not getting divorced. Yeah. You're probably not, statistically speaking. Yeah. Right? Now, if you have 1 or 2 kids, maybe. Yeah. Right. Now, again, our generation, like. Your generation got a lot of divorces. My generation still gets a lot of them, but they're not as traumatic, I don't think.
You think so? Yeah.
I'm sure there are examples but because we saw our parents.
If I talk to young people, it seems like it's still dramatic.
Oh, it has it. No. It, like, there's still an emotional, like, whatever, but it's like, I saw my dad get divorced.
Yeah.
I saw my mom, remarried to my like I saw so many divorces as a kid.
But that's part of your learning.
Yeah.
That's part. Okay, so I always think as you're growing up, like your soul comes to, I think comes into this world, and our bodies are our vehicle.
Yes.
And we change our looks over the years.
Oh, sure.
But the one thing we can't change is our soul.
Yeah.
So when you look into people's eyes, you ever look at somebody and you don't even have to say much, but it's like you get each other and you know it. Mm-hmm. And so the thing about with your family, how you're imprinted as a kid, whether you know it, that's what you take with you with how you think about money.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Sex,
and the thing is, now that I'm in my 40s,
yeah,
and looking at how my parents looked at things, and I'm trying to change some of those things, right? Because some of those things don't work anymore.
Yeah, of course.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, you got to recognize, again, this is a self-awareness thing. You got to recognize where your parents' habits serve you.
Yeah.
Where they don't.
Yeah.
My dad, again, partially because of that divorce, has certain issues with relationships. And if I want a relationship, I have to unlearn his crap.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I unlearn all of it.
No. Yeah.
But certain things, certain biases he
Yeah.
carries, certain crutches he carries, whether he realizes it or not, they have to go, and they don't serve me.
Yeah.
Right now they serve him just fine, and I understand why.
Yeah.
But at the same time, do I want to be that person?
Yeah.
Even financially speaking, if I want to make more money than what they did, I can't quite look at money the same way they did either.
Yeah.
Right? My grandmother, now don't get me wrong, there are tools they have that I could definitely take from them.
Yeah.
My grandmother's one, like, saving money. Like, I could learn a thing or two from my grandmother.
Yeah.
Right?
There's some people that just have a gift in saving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a world-class negotiator too,
Yeah.
which is just, like, she doesn't realize how good she is.
Yeah.
She's great at haggling.
Is she still alive?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
80, like she did like.
How old is she?
84. Like
Goodness,
yeah. So she's done this. She's a fantastic negotiator. I've seen her get things that you just look at. It's like, how?
Yeah.
But again, it's about, those are useful things.
Yeah.
But how you view money, how you again, seeing money as an investment tool.
Yeah.
Rather than something to hold on to.
Yeah.
That's a very different mindset, right?
Money's a big deal breaker for relationships.
Oh, it's absolutely.
Oh my God, the biggest, I swear.
No, it's number one or number two. It depends. In previous relationships, I would say it's number one, but money is number two. And the thing is, because again, it comes down to, like, okay, I have goals. I want to be a businessman, an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
If I'm always spending money on, again, I don't mind spoiling my date.
Yeah.
But if I'm always just like, hey, I want this, give me this $100 thing or $1,000 thing.
Yeah.
Well,
people have different love languages, and that's the thing to figure out.
Yeah.
So for some people, they want gifts, and it's actually a love language.
No.
But another love language could be hugs and kisses.
Oh, well, absolutely. There's different. Like, some of that's love language, but some of that's also just like, okay, I can't. Okay, but you want this expensive thing.
Yeah.
But I can still get you a thing.
Yeah.
But maybe not that thing right now. And when I get to a certain point, then I can start getting you those things, right? Yeah. Sometimes they want the cart before the horse. Like this is just a cart before a horse thing. But that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
A couple years from now, I might be like, yeah, you want that diamond? No big deal.
Yeah.
Right.
But I've had privy information from guys who are building their business. And they don't have the money that people think they have.
They don't.
And so these ladies are like, I want that purse, or I want that, and I can remember the guy saying, and that purse cost this much money.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, we could have gone to Mexico for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? But again, it's a matter of perspective, right? And this is a guy. Now, don't get me wrong. It goes both ways, right? You have, like, if I'm not.
Guys spend big money too.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Oh, God knows. Yeah, I mean, I buy stupid shit all the time, right? but at the same time, right? At the same time, right? There's a reality of the situation. It's like you need to be again, this comes down to self-awareness. You need to be self-aware of the fact that if I'm building something, like this as a guy, if I'm building something, and then until I'm built to a certain point, I'm not going to be able to do for you right? Even what I want to do for you, right?
Well, you said you're in your 40s and you're just at, like I would say, you get to these T sections in the road. Yeah. And you're like, am I going to, find someone? Am I going to start a family? You're going to want to do that in the next, I will say to people, you're going to want to do that at a certain point, and then after that, you got to kind of let that dream go. But I have some of the most successful guys where they say, the only thing I didn't get was a family.
Yeah.
Because they were so busy, being adventure and doing different things and doing these businesses.
This is like why I'm going on this trip now, because I realize, like, if I'm serious about that relationship family thing, somewhere along the way on this journey, I'm going to find somebody or something to do it. Now, again, my window is potentially, like, again, my uncle had his first kid at 50.
Yeah.
Both my uncles did that. I mean, my window isn't closed by any stretch of the imagination for a while yet. But the reality of the situation is, too, I'm looking at this realistically in the sense that I'm coming to the point in my life where I'm still able to do everything.
Yeah.
But I don't have the same energy. I'm not going to have the same energy that when I was younger.
And your child will lose years with you.
Yes.
So being an older parent, like I was told I could never have kids.
And you did.
Yeah, and I can remember thinking, well, I'm going to try when I'm ready and I have the right person. So I finally get the right person and we tried. I mean, it took years. But I can remember thinking at 35, I'm like, 40's sort of that, it feels like the last envelope.
Yeah.
And that for me was like, it was going to be 40 or bust.
Yeah.
And of course I had my son right when I turned 40.
Yeah, and for me, it's just like, I don't necessarily want to have a kid when I'm 50.
Yeah.
But sometime in this decade, say it happens.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be terribly upset about that either. I'd be like, okay, it kind of feels like I'm not gonna say I don't know if anyone's ever ready to have a kid, but what I will say is, like, I have the mental capacity to go, this is not about me anymore.
Yeah.
It's about them.
But synchronicity could, deliver you a woman that doesn't really have a male in the picture, but she has a little one. And sometimes that can be like an unexpected, like, wow, look at this, and that's your little soulmate.
It could, but that one, the challenge on that one is the other dad.
So like maybe the dad's not in the picture. Maybe he's deceased.
Or that would actually see, that one wouldn't be as that one I'd be okay with. It's hard. Okay, there's a lot of with a kid. If I'm bringing a kid in my home, let's say they already have a dad. They already have their own family dynamic coming in. This can be a deal breaker too, and it's this. Okay, can I discipline that kid like it's my own?
Yeah.
That's a hard one for moms.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the thing, and this is unfortunately the other part of this too, the guy has to think about.
Yeah.
What if that kid one day goes to mom?
Yeah.
He did this, he did that to me, he did this to me.
Yeah.
That's a very, I mean, it can happen with your own kid, but it's not But I mean, I'm not saying it can't work.
Yeah.
But that one's a lot more loaded.
Yeah.
That one, unfortunately, is a lot more loaded.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Like dating with just single to single is one thing.
Yeah.
But you add kids to the equation.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole different.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, a lot of people will say, "I waited till my kids grew up before I decided."
Yeah. Because for this very reason, I'm just saying, right? Because it's one of the hardest.
Yeah.
Like if any single person going into a relationship with a kid and a parent, well, the kid's gonna come first with the parent, and they should.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing, they should, right? Because hypothetically speaking, let's say I'm dating somebody with a kid, and let's say we decide to have kids.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep tabs on how they treated this one.
Yeah.
Because this one.
Yeah.
Is also how you're going to treat the next one, and the next one, and the next one too.
Yeah.
So I'm watching that. Like that's actually it. Depending on what I see, that can be a deal breaker.
Of
right?
course.
Right. That can be
everything.
Huge. That can be a deal breaker.
For me, I always will see how people will treat like a waiter or a waitress.
Yeah.
I prefer somebody who's very respectful to every person, no matter what. So
Yep.
if I'm in a restaurant I would never even be around somebody as a friend that doesn't treat people, respectfully that way. It just,
Yeah, at least be friendly with
Yeah.
staff. At least be friendly with them.
because I think we've all been in a situation where there's somebody at the table just losing their mind, and you're just like, oh my God, this is embarrassing.
Well, it's like I say, it's in the States.
Yeah.
I see that more.
Yes.
That's what you see that.
Oh my God.
But it's the mentality down there,
Yeah.
right? The mentality is I am paying for a service.
Yeah.
I expect a certain level of top
Yeah.
service. There is a point they're right, I think. At the same time, though, I have been the person serving,
Yeah.
so I realize too, like sometimes the deck is stacked against you. You
Yeah.
can't win.
Yeah.
So it's not always. So you got kind of like like what I've recognized there is it's not always. If the service is poor, it's not necessarily the wait staff in front of you.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of things.
Yeah, it could be the chef, it could be
It could be the chef. It could be maybe they don't have the supplies
Yeah.
they need. Maybe there are
maybe
so
three
many.
people didn't show up for work that day. It could be so many things.
Yeah, so you gotta. I mean, again, I think there's a line both ways.
Well, and the thing about us humans too, we're not monogamous
No.
by nature.
No.
So when you think about looking at animals and different things, you factor in how all these things we're talking here today, we factored in this for love, this for that, this for love. And the last thing is like how we are wired as well.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
I also know this too. Like, you gotta be honest with what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
How do I put this? There's a responsibility thing. I think this is how I look at it like this too. It's like, I know my proclivities.
Mm.
Which ones of these are actually healthy?
Yeah.
Right? You're still gonna do some of the unhealthy ones. We're certainly, none of us are angels. But are we this conversation ultimately comes down to self-awareness.
Yeah.
What do you want? What are you honest about what you want? What are you willing to do to get it?
Yeah.
And what do you do that can get in the way of that happy end? And you gotta be honest about that. I mean, that's and for all of us, that's different.
Yeah.
Right? All of us. Some of us go, okay, let's talk like monogamy. Well, here's the thing. I have found like once you get to like marriage and serious relationship, right? And I say this as someone who has definitely made mistakes in this department.
Mm-hmm.
Like monogamy is a really good idea at that stage in the game, right? It's really a good idea. If you can't do it, all right, unless you find a very specific kind of relationship, you probably shouldn't be married.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many things. And people do. Some are more, like I will say that, leopards generally don't change their spots.
No.
So if you meet someone and they cheated here, they cheated here, they cheated there, well, more than likely, the past will predict the future. But, you can always change. Life can dramatically change you.
Oh, again, this goes back to something I said earlier.
Yeah.
5 years can, like, who you were 5 years ago, who you are right now.
Yeah.
They're not the same person.
Yeah.
How different are they? Now that's a question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What I do know is it's not the same person. So there's almost like, again, we have this ability in this moment in time to create an idea and impression of the person.
Yeah.
Well, that idea has an expiration date.
Yeah.
5 years from now, you might meet me again. I might be this famous asshole. That's totally what it is, right? Or
you seem like you're not going to be an asshole.
Well,
you seem like you've got a really good heart and a great spirit.
Yeah.
I mean, I read energy. You've got a beautiful energy.
Oh, thank you.
So.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
right? Things happen. And yeah, I don't think I'm going to be that different. But then again,
you talk about the grumpy old man. Right?
Who knows? Who knows, right? But again, it's also going to be what I do, what I have to do to get to where I want to go, right? And again, that will require me to continue to make some changes.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Now, will it make me? I don't necessarily have to be an asshole.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I've lost in the last year is patience.
Yeah. Okay, so you noticed that.
Yeah. I don't have this. If I will take you at your word.
Yeah.
We made this arrangement. She showed up.
Yeah.
we did it.
Yeah.
Right? I was a little late. I told you I was going to be
Yeah.
late. Right? Or, again, I was very respectful about it. So,
In
saying...
most big cities, you can be 10 minutes late.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
good practice,
Yeah.
right? It's a good
Yeah.
practice, right? Now, I had a guest that's supposed to be on a podcast last week.
Yeah.
They forgot. Shit happened. I actually had 2 forgets. One immediately just said, I'm sorry, I know we did this, I forgot, just give me 10 minutes, we'll go.
Yeah.
Shit happens.
Yeah.
I get that, I get that. The other one's like, oh, I forgot. It's like, okay, I don't know if I can do it today. Okay, when would you like to do it? And you're like, I'll have to get back to you on that one. So that's a different response than the first one.
Yeah.
First one was legitimately committed, something
Yeah.
happened. The
Yeah.
second one was not so legitimately committed.
Yeah.
So I dropped him.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in me waiting for them.
Yeah.
And that's what 2022 taught me a very valuable lesson in that I'm not going to wait for people anymore.
Yeah. Every year will teach you
Yeah,
lessons.
yeah, that was my big one. Don't wait for people. And again,
Yeah.
shit happens.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going to listen to you.
Yeah.
How serious are you? Because
Yeah.
if you're not serious,
Yeah.
I won't be out. And that's right. I won't take you seriously.
Yeah.
That's the difference,
Yeah.
right? And like I said, I wish them.
So did you think it was ego?
No,
No.
whatever's going
Whatever
on,
was going on,
whatever was
yeah.
going on,
Yeah.
they no longer wanted to do it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah.
That right. Just tell me. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Again, if something happens, great. If
Yeah.
something doesn't happen, great.
Yeah.
Don't waste my time.
Yeah.
That's
Time is something you can't get back.
Yeah.
It's
Don't.
a valuable commodity.
Yeah.
Time and money usually
What-
is what people are always wanting.
Money,
More time. and-
more. Yeah. Time's the big one. Money can be replaced. Time can't.
Yeah.
So, the thing is, I look at it like that. I can't get my time back. So don't waste my time. You do anything else, things happen, great.
Yeah.
Just tell me. Things you're coming, great.
Yeah.
Or great. If you had told me coming in, my kid's sick, I can't do it today. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you had told me you're telling me what's going on, I can respect that. I again, doesn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
What hurts my feelings is, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
I don't wanna
Yeah.
do this. It's like, well, okay, you should have said something.
Yeah.
Right? There's a difference, right?
And I think if it's that passion within you,
Yeah.
things are always going to happen every day of your life.
Yeah.
Like there's some days where you have lots of time to get ready for a show, but then there's times it's like you're just, getting right in. But it's just, I think if how you conduct yourself in everything spills over.
Oh, absolutely.
Your word is your word.
Yeah.
And I always like to talk about anything like everyone's right there with me.
Yeah.
Treat people as you want them to treat you, and then make sure if someone's not treating you the way you would treat them, well then, it's learning to have some boundaries.
Well, yeah, that's it. We have a mutual friend, and,
Yeah.
and my mutual friend has invited me to a few events and has no-showed those very same events.
Yeah,
To the point that actually I talked to them. It's like, listen, I'm coming for you.
yeah,
If you're not there,
yeah,
just don't invite me.
yeah,
Just don't. I don't want to be like right. And I haven't heard from them so much since. Because again, you set a
Yeah.
boundary,
yeah,
right? And that's it. Like that's the big thing I learned. I don't have the patience anymore for someone going to me.
yeah,
It's like, well, G out. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty much it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's me now. Now again,
but that's you maturing as well.
Yeah,
Look at all
absolutely.
these great things that you've experienced,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
from the very first time you had your crush till you fell in, and all these things you've done with work and everything else, and look where you are today.
It's a crazy journey.
Yeah.
It's a crazy journey. I wrote to that, like, this is not what I imagined it to be. But, and then again, I'm going exactly where I'm supposed to go. And that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Miss Barb, I think we have an interview here. What do you think?
I think we had some good chats.
Yeah.
I think we could have lots of chats. But we had a good chat.
So why don't you go to the camera? Why don't you tell people where they can find you, and we'll wrap this up.
Sure. Usually I tell people to find me on either Instagram or Facebook, and they can just reach out to me there. They can message me, and I feel that's the best way. I help people find each other, But as I age now, usually it's about healing their hearts and moving them forward. And sometimes it's just talking. So yeah, if people want to reach me, I would say go to Facebook
All right. And
or
folks,
Instagram.
if you're listening to this, or if you are listening to this, this was one secret show. This was a test for us. This was
This is a test.
This was a test.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
This is a test. So I mean, this is hopefully will air on YouTube. It's kind of like a secret show for now. Maybe I'll be on page. Again, I'm figuring this out right as we go. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Right, wherever I put this, thanks for watching. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time.